Hey, it's Brad. And
And Shane.
hey, guys, we're doing something a little different today. So
We are. We are.
we're kind of switching up a little bit. Shane's at his house, and I'm at my house, and so
I'm on a beach in Brazil, looking at the ocean, just watching the sunset. No, I'm kidding. I'm at my house.
well, hey, man, I was like, hey, man, that's awesome. You should keep going with that. I was starting to imagine how beautiful that is, and I was
Oh
thinking,
I'm there
man,
in
I'm a
my
little
head
jealous of Shane's house and where he's at.
I'll be going to Brazil in December. I'm excited about that.
Right on.
Yeah.
But trying out some new technology. We're recording this on the computer instead of the phone. So anyway, if it sounds weird, that's the reason why. So just giving everybody a heads up. So
Absolutely. So what are we talking about today, Brad?
I think we're going to talk about staying motivated.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I think that's one of the things that's most difficult about starting out on kind of developing a positive worldview and having it to where our thoughts are predominantly from a good positive place is maintaining that, especially when there's been just years and years and years of kind of negative thinking habits. It's important to kind of understand what we can do to keep it keep our thoughts uplifted and maintain these new habits before they really get set in. So
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's it's definitely important for myself to stay motivated in the short term and the long term, and because there's definitely things that happen in our day to day that just seems like it's derailing everything. And it's like, how do we get past that? I mean, what are some of the things that you do to kind of get past that in the short term?
I try to just keep an eye out on the prize. There's so I keep my main goal in my head, and kind of like my house in Brazil, right? I don't have a house in Brazil, but in my head I do, right? And then I try to just imagine myself there, and it's amazing how just kind of using your imagination, in a constructive way to kind of change and alter your mood or your feelings can do so much for kind of putting you back on track and realize, hey, things might be the way they are right now, but it's okay. I know where I'm going. And there's another thing I heard by reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is an amazing book if you haven't had a chance to read it. One of the things he tries to pound into your subconscious and just your understanding is that, with each setback and with each failure, quote unquote, there's always the seed of an equal kind of opportunity within that, and an equal advantage that you can harvest from there. So it's important to try to keep that in mind. I mean, have you heard that? Is that kind of what you try to do, or?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think that kind of goes along the lines of be afraid of the same thing being the same all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I know for me, kind of what I do is, kind of, what you're talking about as far as imagination. I definitely try to, use my imagination as much as I can. We've talked about this in previous podcasts. But I learned a long time ago that, you have to, give yourself some time to relax. Like not only every day meditate, work out, have some time to just kind of do self-reflection, but, things build up over time. So you definitely, or at least for myself, once or twice a year, most of the time it's twice a year, just take, a week to myself. So it's like 2 weeks a year. And so, I plan, different types of vacations at, different locations. And, those are the kind of things in the short term that help me, kind of, keep in check and keep a balance, is basically saying, hey, I'm going to have this, relaxing time with the family. I've picked out this, really nice place. I'm constantly looking at the pictures. I'm planning what I'm going to be doing. I'm looking at different restaurants in the area. So, those are things that I'm doing like in my short term, just to stay sane, and stay
Sure.
motivated because, I know as time goes on, those vacations will become bigger and longer and better resorts. Maybe I'll be flying there in my private jet one day instead of, having to have to drive. So those are the kind of things that are, kind of keeping me motivated in the short term. And I've learned over time to splurge. So I definitely think that you have to have that time to recoup and recover. And if you plan those, 2 times a year, those are definitely things that you look forward to stay motivated. And not only when you get you're on your way to the vacation, thinking about it, but once you come back from that vacation, it's like a
Sure.
ultimate motivator because you're relaxed. You've had time with your family. You've kind of gone through a detox. You've gotten your massage. You've been in the beach. You've breathed in the ocean air, whatever it
Yep.
may be. So you're a completely refreshed individual, and you can go at it hard and hit it hard again.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what we can do like on a daily basis, like maybe some practical steps that we can take. Because
Sure.
I think what you'll find, at least what I've found anyway, is that I mean sometimes, man, it's just like you're kind of like riding on a high. Maybe like you had like you read a good inspiring book or watched a good like motivational speech or even like a movie or something that inspires you. Maybe something really good happened in your life, and it's like a few days later, it's like you're quote unquote back to reality unquote, and it's just like what I found is that it can be a struggle to kind of overcome that each day. I try to do it every day, but what are some techniques that you do to try to get to that point where it's just like, despite the I don't want to say discouragement, but despite the tendency to just like give in to the feelings of just like heaviness or struggle or man, I mean, I don't feel like I'm getting closer. Are there any techniques that you can share that you try to do on a daily basis to overcome that?
Yeah, it's a real good question. As far as techniques go, I definitely have my ups and downs, so I
Uh-huh.
definitely can relate to the question that you're asking. Sometimes I come in, I feel 100% motivated, and then the next week I come in and I don't know, something's happened or whatever, and I just don't feel the same that week. I just don't feel motivated. So, I try a bunch of different things. Now, as crazy as this may sound, what I've recently done, or been researching, is looking into like probiotics and enzymes.
Huh.
And there's a lot of research when it comes to the gut and digestion and how that relates to the mind. Putting the mind in different types of states and stuff like that. There's a direct
Okay.
correlation between the gut and the mind, and if the gut's not right, neither will the mind be. So, outside of all the books that I've read and the podcasts that I listen to and anything and everything, we go back to biohacking. What is
Uh-huh.
biohacking? What are these different tools and techniques that you can use? And this kind of falls into that category. And so, I've been looking at a lot of different, are doing research on probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes. I've been taking quite a bit of enzymes over the last
Hmm.
handful of weeks. I'm not sure if that was the answer that you're looking for, but what I will
No, I
say
mean, if it works, yeah, I want to hear more.
is that is that these enzymes, basically the way that it was explained to me or the research that I've done is, if you think about building a house, let's say you go and you purchase a lot, and you have basically some building materials delivered. Let's call it like carbohydrates, protein and fat is basically like the drywall, the boards, and the shingles, let's say. That's like the building blocks. That's the building material of the home. And then let's take minerals, vitamins, and nutritions. Let's basically say that's the plumbing, that's the electrical, that's those types of things, the inner working, the things that kind of make the house work. If you drop those things off at your job site and you go, okay, got all these here, and you leave and you come back 2 weeks, you're probably going to ask, where's my house? The missing piece is the workers. And so basically, what I've come to discover is that enzymes are the workers. And so what that does is it basically takes all of those building blocks, which is, the carbohydrates, proteins, the fats, and the nutrients, the minerals, and all that, and it basically breaks it down to very small micro absorbent particles that can be absorbed by the body. And what I will tell you is that it has made an amazing difference over the last few weeks that I've been taking these enzymes. So, when I kind of get into kind of a slump, which I was probably in a couple days ago, I just start eating handfuls of these enzymes.
Interesting.
And basically, it's probably not handfuls. It's probably like instead of taking 2 or 3, it's probably like taking 3 or 4. But you guys get my point. And so basically, that's doing something to my body. That's basically like giving me more energy. It's giving me more motivation. It's giving me, more things to kind of, put a pep in my step, to kind of, you look at things a different way and saying, hey, this is not a challenge that I just want to roll over on when it's presented to me. This is something that I want to take, head on. And it's that energy that I need in order to do that. So I definitely think these enzymes are helping me from a motivation standpoint because it's giving my body the energy that I need to, stop or continue moving forward and not stop dead in my tracks. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, personally, what I do, I try to, when I wake up, I mean, for me, it's all about habits, right? What I find is that if I can start my day off right, with a morning routine, the rest of the day tends to be a lot better, right, than if I didn't do anything at all. So what I try to do is, from the very get-go, when my alarm goes off at 5 or 5:30, typically it's 5:30, I get up no matter how tired I am, no matter how much I want to stay in bed. So the first thing I do is make an act of the will and force my body to do what I want it to do, no matter how tired I am. So I just get straight out of bed, I put my clothes on, and within 5 minutes, I'm walking outside. I mean, if it's rain or nothing, if it's rain outside, if it's cold or whatever, I mean, I'm out on the street walking. What I try to do is just I breathe really deeply, get that fresh air, and I just start trying to think of things I'm grateful for. I try to think of also too, things in my past, like problems that I've had or things I perceived as being a really bad occurrence, and realizing that it wasn't anything bad at all. Actually, it was life happening for me. Not to me. There's this one story in particular. I won't go into it too in depth, but when I was at a high school, my thing was music and guitar, and so I studied at the Atlanta Institute of Music. And my dream was to go on tour, live that kind of lifestyle, play on the stage. I just invested so much of myself into this skill. And when I was at the Atlanta Institute of Music, the president of the school nominated me to be on tour with this Virgin Records artist. And I mean, I was a shoe-in. They said, look, everything's set. There's this one thing we got to take care of. Long story short, they went with some other kind of outside hire musician, so to speak, without even telling me. So I was like, man, this is my dream. This is what I'm supposed to do for my life. And it was just kind of taken out from under me or whatever. So I was super bummed about that. Fast forward, ended up going to college. And I remember within like a month of starting school, talking with one of my friends who was in that band. I think too, like all my friends were in this group too. But I was talking to my buddy. He's like, "Yeah, man. So EMI Records apparently bought out Virgin like 6 months prior, and just last week they fired everybody and let go of all the artists in management on this particular aspect of the label, and all the musicians were out on the street. So if I were to have stayed in that band, I wouldn't be in school. I wouldn't. My future wouldn't be on track and where it is now. So it's just like I try to recognize opportunities in my past where it's like, even though it seemed like things were really bad, recognize that I was being guided by something beyond myself. So I try to look at my current situation, even if it doesn't seem like anything's happening. I try to recognize it as like I'm still being guided. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so instead of like getting all bent out of shape and, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do today, I don't want to get out of bed, I try to recognize it like, hey, today's an opportunity. And I have this goal in mind. It's insanely lofty. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I can at least ask myself, what's the little thing I can do today to move towards it? What is something really small I can do? Maybe it's like finally going to that website and doing the research I need to do. Maybe it's just taking this other little step, but whatever it is, it makes me feel at the end of the day like I did something because I'm moving in a direction. So that's a technique I use that's been really effective that hopefully can help you out, hopefully can help anyone who's listening out to stay motivated.
Yeah, so it's like keeping action alive along those lines, yep. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome story, Shane. I did not know that.
Yeah, well, life is, you can look at it two ways, right? It's happening to you and you're out of control, or, there's a higher power beyond you, which, I wholeheartedly believe in, unabashedly, that is guiding you and life is happening for you. Even the things that are bad, even the problems, are opportunities. If we just look for that seed or that equivalent opportunity in them that exists. So
yeah, that's great. So what about celebrating victories? Isn't that kind of an important part of all of this? In order to stay motivated, we have to celebrate those wins, that we get along the way. So thinking about celebrating exactly victories. Right, yeah. I know we've kind of talked about this in the past, and talking about daily, trips to the Starbucks and getting your favorite latte or whatever it may be, or even
a tall latte, Brad.
Yeah, a venti for me, a tall for you.
I did get a grande today.
You did get a grande today. It was so funny. Shane orders. I'm going and I'm throwing a little bit of sugar and cream in my coffee. Then he comes over and he slams down this cup and he goes, "I got a grande today."
It's a grande.
I'm like, oh, right, man, we have to go change that title. Or at least have an upcoming podcast with a different title. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely important to celebrate your victories and recognize those victories, because I definitely think that we can lose sight with the day-to-day that's going on. And, we've got this goal in mind, and we think we're not accomplishing it, and we're looking at all these roadblocks, and we're looking at a lot of the negatives. That's partially what this podcast is about, is about, not looking at the negatives and looking at the positives. So, how do you look at the things that are happening, daily, and saying, hey, these are quick wins, these are simple wins, they may be very small wins, but these small wins are going to add up over time to get me to the goal and make me successful. So you have to make sure that you're celebrating those, because that's what's going to turn your mind from a negative mind to a positive mind, because you need to be thinking in a more positive manner in order to keep yourself motivated. I think that's very important, not to let
Yeah.
We talked about in the past of, watching the news and watching and getting involved in politics and doing all these things, where it's basically fear mongering and belittling everybody and putting expert talking heads on the screen and making you feel like you're, a little small human being that,
Yeah.
what can you do? You're not capable of doing anything. You have your place on this earth, and you just need to find that little cog in the wheel and just, kind of, fit in society. And that's
Well,
not the reality, that's
well, and along those lines, I think it's important to say this too. So I was a person who, again, I would watch the news every day. The first thing I would do, after just kind of waking up, getting ready, I'd look at the news, take a look at what happened in the world before I go to bed. I just make sure that everything's no nuclear bomb went off or something. You just kind of get in this mindset. And I got to tell you, like one day, I don't know what caused it, but I just stopped looking at the news. And if I think about it right now, the news is constantly convincing you that we are on the brink of our economic collapse, that we're on the brink of war, all this kind of stuff. But I mean, like, stop and look right now of any story that you were fascinated by or really terrified of, right? And our recent past, or 5 years ago, it doesn't matter. And notice that we're still here, right? Notice that the world keeps turning. You can still go and buy a tall or grande latte depending on your mood. You can. It's just we're still here. That's one of the things. I really don't get caught up in the news anymore. But I think that's a good point where you're talking about, though.
Yeah, because
I just had to chime in with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can definitely overlook your own small successes and fail to, celebrate your victories and let that consume you. And, you're stumbling and tripping and you're not where you want to be.
Well, it's also important to realize and be okay with the fact that, it's like, nobody on this earth, maybe save your spouse potentially, right, is going to want your success as much as you do, right? So it's just it's kind of an exercise in self-reliance to just accept and realize it's hey, no one cares about this as much as I do, and that's okay. So I'm going to celebrate myself and my own efforts.
Yeah.
I think that's important to realize, and for me, it builds a sense of self-reliance, and it builds my self-esteem. I feel like I'm on my own team when I do that,
Yeah, and let's briefly talk about what we mean by celebrating victories, because that,
sure,
for me, I think of celebrating victories as something as simple as driving into work and saying, "Hey, I got to accomplish these, 20 things." And then, jumping on my computer when I get to work and putting those in my task manager. And then saying, hey, now I have this written down. Now I have this in front of me. Now I know what I'm supposed to accomplish today. And now I can hold myself accountable. Okay, it's time to celebrate that victory. And then as I knock off those individual tasks, then, maybe every 5 tasks I can celebrate a victory. And when I say celebrate a victory, I mean, this is not, running down and buying a candy bar every single time or running around and giving high fives.
Candy bars.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I mean, that's what Shane does, but I don't,
That's not what I do. Slander. Or libel.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's something as simple as, backing away from the computer and walking around and giving yourself some space and going out and, looking out the window and, looking at the beautiful landscape or looking at how beautiful the sky is or whatever. I mean, you definitely can, celebrate in other ways too. So, if your week's going really good, you're accomplishing a lot of stuff, then, tap a friend on the shoulder and, say, hey, let's go grab some lunch and pay for their lunch. You know what I'm saying? I think that, that's something that, a lot of us in this day and age, we don't do, we're narcissistic in nature because of the I this and the I that and the me this and the me that. So, a lot of us, don't really treat our buddies to our successes. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that's the celebration in itself, reaching out to a buddy and saying, hey, let's go grab some food. and then picking up the tab. I mean, you would be amazed how great you feel after that happens. And then that's almost like a mini vacation in itself. At least for me, it has been. And then, I look forward to what's next. So what about you, Shane?
Um, yeah. I mean, like for me, it's just I tend to celebrate my success through something having to do with my senses, and typically that involves taste for some reason. So like um, I tend to get a coffee, like a nice coffee, if I do well on something, or if I'm celebrating a victory. I like to walk too, and just I don't know why, but I feel good when I walk around. I like to call my wife if I have a success, because she is one of those people that I'm fortunate enough to have somebody who does care about my successes, and it's nice to share with somebody,
Yeah, absolutely.
When I'm really happy, I like to give genuine compliments, like in a tactful way, right? Like not like I'm trying to get something out of somebody, but like if I'm feeling good or I'm trying to celebrate, I like to try to share that emotion or that feeling in some way with people. So like people love to be built up, right? So it's just like, I don't know, maybe you're on the elevator with somebody, and I don't know, like today there was this girl, like her hair was really cool. I just noticed it, and I was in a good mood. So I just try to give a compliment, like, "Hey, I really like your hair today," and you can tell that like she felt like built up because it started.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, so it just started like a whole conversation, because there's a bunch. Like I was actually with Brad on the elevator today, and there's other people, and it started this whole conversation, and it just. That's actually one of the best parts of my day today.
Yeah, it was
that elevator ride.
Yeah, it was, and I noticed this about Shane. Like from time to time, he'll just make these, really nice comments to people, and I'm kind of like, what is he doing? But it was interesting to. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I think it's great, but it just kind of comes out of the blue. And you're right. It definitely has this weird, bizarre morphing ability. Like today, you complimented her hair, and we somehow started talking about my shoes, and then the entire...
Which were nice too.
Yeah, it was just strange. And then like the whole elevator, there was probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 people in the elevator, and it was just like we were having like this awesome elevator conversation about like hair and shoes. Where did you get those shoes? I love those shoes. Are those Johnson and Murphy? Oh, yeah. So it was just really interesting. Yeah. So I'm catching on to those types of things that you do, Shane. So those are awesome.
It's just such a simple way to build people up. Just like spread goodness, right?
It definitely did. I definitely felt like all of us got off of that elevator with huge grins on our face. I legitimately. Feel that did happen. So it was really interesting how just that tiny little comment just sparked this huge grin on everybody's face. Yeah. Not directly from that comment, but how everybody just opened up and they were just willing to like talk to each other. And everybody knows how awkward an elevator ride was.
That's right.
Or is. So it's pretty awesome. So
yeah, well, it's just like I think those are life's little moments that like you don't plan for. They just kind of happen, and
they're genuine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're genuine. That's why they're so special, and that's why everybody's. So yeah. I think that was awesome.
Well, yeah, man. So those are things I try to do, and I think we've covered some really good ground today on like how to stay motivated and little techniques that you can do. We talked about. Trying to establish, morning routines or habits or like little things that just kind of get you excited about the day because you're moving towards your goal. We've talked about how you can even, through like even something like enzymes or like biohacking techniques, if you want to call it that like can, through like your health and what you ingest, like kind of put your mind in a better state because your body is working. It's I guess capacity or potential we talked about just like little things you can do to kind of like spread goodness. They're just like simple compliments, and like, and that was like going back to that girl. I mean, like, there is no offense I was offering. It was just like, hey, just like, I noticed this about you, and it's nice to build people up, and it tends to affect the rest of your day and gets you excited about the direction you're going. So
cool. Well, Shane, that's awesome. We're at the 30-minute mark. And I think there's a lot in there for everybody to digest. I can't wait to put this up and go re-listen to this and see how this podcast did. So once again, I'm going to pressure you in on the intro and the outro. Haven't got it yet, but I think we got like 2 more episodes to go before you have to actually start singing it live on the podcast.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it. How about the next? How about this? How about the next one? I'll do it.
Yeah, hey man, I'm going to hold you to that. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'll warm up.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten a little sneak peek. He sent me a little sneak peek over text, so it's going to be real good, guys. Can't wait for this.
I hope you like falsetto.
Well, cool, guys. Again, if you guys have any comments, please drop those on the website or throw those in YouTube. We'd love to hear your feedback. Subscribe to us in all the multiple ways that you can subscribe to us. We're on all the iTunes aggregators, YouTube. We're pretty much everywhere. We'll probably be starting some other social media sites or whatever they're called. Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff to kind of get our reach out there. Just bear with us as we, grow this thing. But
absolutely.
But yeah,
we'll get some pictures of us up there too, so you can put some faces to the voices.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So, all
right.
right.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yep, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.
Take care.